What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new review. For today I have one of the cheapest phones that has a Snapdragon CPU. This right here is called the China Mobile A3S and it's using the Snapdragon 425 and it costs somewhere around $60. So what else do we get for that $60? Well, first of all, we get a phone that looks very similar to the Xiaomi Redmi 4 or maybe the Redmi 4A, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Aside from that, we have 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage. Of course, out of that 16 gigs of internal storage, we only have about 10 gigs left, and the speeds for the internal storage are pretty slow as well. But at least the phone can take an SD card, and that SD card can be used as internal storage. The phone's body is made out of plastic entirely, but for $60 I wasn't actually expecting anything else. And on the back there we even have a fingerprint scanner. That's right, for $60 we even get a fingerprint scanner. Of course, this fingerprint scanner isn't the fastest out there, but it works, and I guess it takes like a second longer than normal to unlock the screen, but once again, for that price you can't really expect that much. Just above that fingerprint scanner, we also have an 8 megapixel camera and a flash. Now, surprisingly enough, the picture quality from that rear camera isn't that bad, mostly considering the price of the phone. Since the phone is not that fast, of course, it takes a bit longer to focus, but if you can take pictures in focus, they do look decent enough for the price of the phone. And lastly, all the way at the bottom on the back, we also have the speaker. Now, of course, the speaker is pointing in the wrong direction, but the speaker doesn't sound bad for a phone that costs $60. But here is a quick sample of how the speaker sounds. And we are not done. At the top we even have a 3.5mm audio jack, and the sound quality from that audio jack is decent as well. So I'm quite surprised to see how much they actually included with this phone, mostly considering the phone costs only about $60. On the left we have the slot for the SIM card, so this phone can take either 2 SIM cards or a SIM card and an SD card, and all the way at the bottom we have a micro USB charging port and the microphone. The phone supports OTG, but it doesn't support fast charging, so charging this phone from 0 to 100 is done in about 2 hours and a half. And talking about charging, well, inside this phone we have a 2800 mAh battery, and of course that doesn't sound like much, but you're still gonna be able to make it through an entire day and get about 3 hours of screen on time, which isn't that much, but it's kind of average for a flagship these days. Alright, and we're moving to the front of the device and starting all the way at the top. So first of all, we have a proximity and a light sensor, and I wasn't actually expecting any sensors, mostly considering the price of the phone, but of course don't imagine that we have a gyroscope, only a proximity and a light sensor. Aside from that, we have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, and the picture quality is decent as long as you have plenty of light. As soon as you don't have enough light, the pictures become kind of blurry and grainy. The 5.2-inch screen has a resolution of 720p. This is an IPS panel. We have decent looking colors and good enough viewing angles, but the screen doesn't get that bright, so whenever you take this phone outside you can barely see it. The screen sensitivity is average, but the screen can register up to 5 touches at the same time. However, I did find myself having to type the same letter twice on a couple of occasions, so definitely not the best screen sensitivity out there. The navigation buttons are sitting just below the screen and they don't light up, but luckily we can change them around from the software, so if you don't want the back button on the right, you can just move it to the left, so that's a good thing. And we're moving on to the benchmark results. So on the Antutu benchmark we get a score of about 40,000, and on the Geekbench 4 we get a score of about 1400 for the multi-core score. Now those scores aren't bad for that Snapdragon 425, however the phone's performance is nowhere close to those scores. That has to do with the super heavy skin that we have on top of that Android 7.1. So basically this company tried to copy Xiaomi, so basically everything that Xiaomi does with MIUI, however they didn't get the optimization right, therefore the phone feels very slow, mostly for a phone that has that Snapdragon 425. So everything that you're gonna do with this phone is done in slow motion, so opening apps takes longer than normal, switching in between apps takes longer than normal, and of course the multitasking doesn't work that well because we only have 2 gigs of RAM. So you can still use most apps on this phone, but you're gonna have to be patient because the phone is not fast. So if you're not a patient person, this phone is definitely not for you, and I do recommend that you look for something else that doesn't have this heavy UI on top of that Android 7. Moving on to the GPS unit inside this phone, well, I have to say that it works better than I was expecting. So it only takes 2 to 3 seconds to find your location, and once your location is found, it doesn't seem to lose it, so much better than I was expecting. As for connectivity, the phone supports 4G connectivity, but we don't get dual band Wi-Fi, so you can only connect to the 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi bands. Now here in Canada I was able to use the phone on 2G, 3G and 4G, but definitely check the bands before buying this phone. As for the speeds over the 4G network and the 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi band, the speeds are appropriate for a phone in this price range. And it's time to conclude this video. So if you're looking for a super cheap phone that has a lot of features, this could be a good choice. I mean, the screen isn't the best because it doesn't get that bright and the phone is kind of slow, but at least you get a fingerprint scanner and decent cameras, and all that for about $60. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.